Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's education session focused on how you can start leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence with your JDE ERP data. Today, we're going to look at the benefits and challenges associated with these technologies and then explore some practical examples that can be applied to JDE analysis. Before we jump in, a few housekeeping items to discuss. We will have some time at the end for questions, so please enter your questions that come up in the Q&A section of the GoToWebinar panel. And also, we'll be making this recording available to you after the session in case you want to come back and reference it or pass it along to other colleagues. So, my name is David Kettinger, and I lead up the marketing team here at Preferred Strategies. And today I have the privilege of introducing Todd Wilson, who is the CEO at Preferred Strategies. And he'll be leading us through this AI-inspired journey. And Todd is certainly no stranger to emerging technology or JDE analytics. He started his own JDE business intelligence company called Corporate Radar before moving on to CIO roles at Cliff Bar and Kids 2. So I'm excited to hear what he has to share with us today. And with that, Todd, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, David. First, thanks for everyone that registered and is joining today. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to share some of my journey, some of my thoughts, and that of Preferred Strategies. AI, machine learning, data science, all the key buzzwords out there. The hype is in the headlines every day, and so it's not only a hot topic, it's one that can, if thoughtfully pursued, can bring a tremendous amount of value to our respective organizations. David provided a little bit of an introduction. I'm one of the newer members at Preferred. I started about 4 months ago. Prior to that, was a CIO for several years, an entrepreneur before that, worked on Wall Street prior to that. A little bit about myself. I'm a Cal Bear alumni. So yes, I am finding it unsettling what's happening in college football right now. But also grew up in the Midwest, married for more than 30 years, two biological kids, one international daughter. As I mentioned, love college football and private pilots. My favorite color is blue. Pretty good at napkin folding as a side hobby. A cyclist. I love to travel, like any new bold adventure, and probably most importantly, I'm passionate about data. My entire career in one form or another has really been focused on analytics and bringing data to life in ways that really add value. So you might wonder, well, why do I provide all that detail? Well, first of all, a lot of that data is stuff you can find online pretty easily. And that is the world we live in today. We've got data everywhere. Data is the new currency. Data is where value is found in the consumer market, in the B2B markets, anywhere you look. You see some of the most high-profile name-brand companies that have built over the last couple of decades. All of that's done so through the best use of data. Whether it's Amazon that started as a bookseller, Netflix through streaming, obviously the big players in social media. All of that is by leveraging data in a way that I think really is beginning to merge in our personal and professional worlds in a way we haven't seen before. You don't have to go beyond LinkedIn to find a lot of personal side to the professional world that each of us have as resumes on LinkedIn. So with all of that data out there, we have to ask the question, how do we harness that power and do so in a way that really does find the value in the midst of all that? With a flurry of technology that changes at an ever increasing rate, it's nearly impossible to keep up, let alone what's real and what's not. So what I'd like to share today with you is a little bit about my data-driven journey, what that's looked like over the last several years, and hopefully provide some helpful ways for you to think about that. Most importantly, to think about how that can bring value to your organization. Now, this is not a technical discussion that will debate the definitions of artificial intelligence versus machine learning or data science or advanced statistical analysis or large language models. You know, pick your term. There are a number of terms that seem to grow every day. Instead, it's really to focus on this really exciting point in time where AI and ML and everything related is now never more accessible than it's been. So it's more accessible, it's more economical than ever before, it's more secure than ever before, it's more high performing with larger and larger data sets that continue to grow, but with technology that really is at a point that there's some real value to be found. So what we'll do over the next few minutes is I'll give you just a quick walk through my personal journey and a high-level overview of what that's looked like, what I've learned through successes and failures, but then really focus on what I believe to be some of the key elements as a foundation to be able to take that journey, to be able to create a mature journey and success across your organization. With some practical areas where you can find some of that value, especially with us being JD Edwards focused. This webinar will focus specifically on how does that happen with the JD Edwards environment. And then finally, preview some of the things we're doing at Preferred with our Quick Launch product, how we're approaching machine learning, data science, and everything that is AI, starting with what value we see, what's real and what maybe is still experimental. Okay, so just to quickly ground those that maybe aren't as familiar with Quick Launch, and we've got quite a mix here on the attendees today. Many customers, so thank you for joining. It's great to see you. Many that are not customers and are maybe not familiar with Quick Launch. So Quick Launch is our flagship product that is focused on taking JD Edwards data, transforming that into a very powerful data model, well beyond what you might get from a legacy reporting solution or even a homegrown enterprise data warehouse. We strive to provide the most scalable and efficient path to value for your organization through a very rigid and really specialized focus on a methodology that provides that value. And we work hard to keep you there. In fact, what we are really focused on being for each of our customers is to be the most trusted analytics partner at every stage of that data-driven journey. Whether it's the very beginning stages and really trying to make sense of how to transform that data in a usable way, or the most advanced early adopters that have full data science teams already built out, to stay at the forefront of that, to figure out where that value can best be found for our JD Edwards customers. Now, we are beginning to develop and have for the last several months to develop that AI engine that can unlock that data model in new ways. We'll talk a little more about that in a minute, but that is core to our roadmap ahead, as well as solutions that bring value out of the box, whether it's specific industry focused solutions or functional solutions, supply and demand as an example, or manufacturing, to really provide those solutions that better leverage that robust data model in ways that provide that value for your organization. And then with that, it is integrated into Power BI. That was a strategic decision made years ago to really complement everything that is the leading tool in terms of visualization, and to continue to leverage all of the new innovation, whether it's analytics or further visualization that Power BI has to offer. Okay, so that means that we're taking that cryptic data from JD Edwards, whether it's the 4,000 plus tables, the UDCs, the decimal precision, the calendaring, go down the list, transforming that into a powerful, governed, secure data model that is high performing to be able to provide the very best analytics capability. Okay, so that is a quick overview of Quick Launch for JD Edwards. Now, just a little bit about my journey. While I am relatively new in my current role here at Preferred Strategies, I have a long history with Preferred. I actually joined Cliff Bar about 11 years ago. Cliff Bar is a health and nutrition energy bar company that many of you probably have heard of. Joined as a CIO, and Preferred had already been selected and was underway with implementation. That was very fortuitous and really added a tremendous amount of value right out of the gate. It wasn't a decision I made, but one I certainly benefited from, because we were on the verge of some very significant transformation as an organization, and it all revolved around data. We had outsourced all of our production for quite some time, so almost since the inception of Cliff Bar, and decided to go into self-manufacturing. Well, that meant in about 1 year's time, we went from making none of our own products and outsourcing it through co-packers to producing over 70% of our volume, which was well over 1 billion bars per year. That was a very big transformation, and one that meant we had to learn a lot, and we had to learn very quickly. Now, we made a huge investment and tried to bring in best in class in terms of the manufacturing, in terms of the automation, but ultimately we were starting from scratch and having to catch up quick. We had highly automated equipment that was providing some of the best that was available in terms of manufacturing, but we were seeing all kinds of problems to really get to a good steady state and to the most efficient point where we could really see the benefit of all the investment that we had made in moving to self-manufacturing. It's not the only area where we had just a tremendous amount of data that we were looking to capture and really leverage, but it was the most important because we knew that that was going to give us a huge advantage, a competitive advantage like we had not seen before. And in an increasingly competitive space, by that point, the barrier to entry had become pretty low in terms of getting into that space. So we were seeing competitors right and left, and we really needed to maintain that competitive advantage. So we had a business challenge when it came to our manufacturing. Among many others, our inconsistency in production. We had 6 lines across 2 facilities and inconsistencies in each of those lines, and trying to understand from that massive amount of data that we were collecting what that really meant. It was really hard to take that much information and try to figure out what to do with it. First of all, the technology of the time wasn't as mature as what we see today. Everything from real-time access to that data to the kind of data modeling and high performance volume processing, the compute power wasn't nearly what it is today. And so we really had to look at it in a different way and try to apply the right kind of approaches to our data science to figure out what was going to give us those solutions. Now, at the time, data science wasn't even really a commonly understood term like it is today. Now you can go to any number of schools and major in data science with advanced degrees in data science. But this was much earlier on, and so we really had almost a voluntary team that was focused on trying to take that information and turn it into real good decision making to try to solve for the problems we were seeing. I call it voluntary because it was almost like a side project. We didn't have big dollars dedicated to that. Most of that went into the equipment and the manufacturing process. And so that team and just a really great team that was just as passionate about taking that data and figuring out what to do with it. We wanted to find the key influencers at every step of the process. We wanted to find the secrets to maximizing that productivity. And take that real-time flow of data and turn it into almost real-time analysis at the same time. Without going into too much detail on all of the back end and what that looked like, because it was a much more primitive form than what's available today, but we were taking that data, capturing it, and figuring out how to apply those analytic algorithms to be able to solve for this problem and others. We determined where those bottlenecks were and started to figure out ways to optimize across the different manufacturing lines. So what we found was a bit surprising, even counterintuitive. Once we started looking at the data, in a really objective way, then we found that we were able to predict what was going to happen and figure out what was actually causing the inconsistency. And ultimately, not to oversimplify, because there was a ton of work to get to this point, we found that we actually were going to be more productive if we slowed down our production. We were finding that the inconsistency had to do with steps along the way that were predictable, but we weren't paying attention to that. Things like preventative maintenance steps that were going to make it possible for us to properly schedule and figure out our capacity for each one of those lines. A lot of steps as you're processing food to be able to be very productive required looking at each one of those steps, and not just how fast was that packaging automation going, but the end-to-end process, what was going to make that most effective. So slowing down was a very counterintuitive outcome to analyzing that data, but it actually gave us a tremendous spike in production, in consistency, and ultimately a tremendous amount of savings in cost in our production process by taking that data, harnessing it, using the right kind of algorithms to be able to find the solutions to our problem. And then in addition to that, we saw unexpected benefits. We saw byproducts that included things like visibility into what was happening. And you see the screenshot there is a 75-inch monitor in one of the facilities where every shop floor worker could see exactly what was happening at any time. We could see whether we were behind on the day or whether we were ahead. We could see what was coming in terms of predictions around our product specs, and whether or not we in advance could tell whether or not it was going to deviate. So all that information was something that would take hours to assemble previously. We wouldn't see until the next day. If you were on a shift, you wouldn't know until the next day whether or not yesterday was a good day or a bad day. Now we had that all in real time, and we're able to predict what was ahead. So while the results were counterintuitive, it was possible by applying that machine learning to help us achieve the results that we were seeking. Lots of other examples along the way. That's probably the biggest aha moment, where we started realizing harnessing this data, being able to make more advanced analytics decisions really made a huge difference across the organization. While it started in manufacturing, which is kind of an unusual place to start, I think. Most of the time you might start with something on the finance side or sales side. For us, it was a huge win, because it was a new frontier for us, where the entire company was focused on it, and so everybody was able to really rally around that, from the executive sponsorship level to the shop floor workers that had information they never thought possible, and certainly had never seen before. Okay, so that's a little bit about some of the highlights that I've seen in that journey. We made lots of mistakes along the way, learned a lot of lessons, a lot of trial and error. As I said, a lot of the technology wasn't as mature as what we see today. Ultimately, we did learn a lot of things, but it does beg the question, when should I begin to leverage what's out there today? We've got just an onslaught of ideas, of products, of announcements, of startups all around. So what are the kind of the big areas where I can look at and say, yeah, that's me, and I should start thinking about that if I haven't already? Well, I think one area is when you've got large amounts of data, and I would say probably for most of us on this call, that's going to apply. If we've got large amounts of data, it's become almost impossible to try to harness that in any other way, in any traditional way, whether that's through Excel, and Excel still the biggest analytics tool out there, and probably no competitor even close. But you get too large in that data, and that just becomes an unwieldy, untenable solution. Same's true with more legacy reporting approaches to that, where you've got more static output as a result of trying to harness that large data, but then to be able to take that and manipulate it in the way that you need to have the flexibility to constantly go through iterations on that with large amounts of data, that's extremely difficult to do. It could be that you're more focused on operational efficiency. We certainly saw the benefit of that in manufacturing at Cliff Bar. The ability to automate a lot of repetitive tasks, and probably already one or more of the applications you're using within your organization have some degree of automation, whether it's workflow or automating repetitive tasks. And that's true across many products today where that comes into play. Also, I think a big focus is certainly around our customer experience. How do we improve that customer experience? How do we do so with personalization, with recommendations, by really optimizing that experience for our customers? Artificial intelligence and everything related can certainly help you with that. Looking to scale your business is another big reason why looking at the more advanced technology options out there makes it possible to scale in a way that you do get the economies of scale as you scale your business and all the technology that comes along with it. But I would say probably the most important reason, and certainly this is going to be obvious in many areas, is simply to stay competitive. The importance of data has grown to the point that it's almost universally accepted that you have to get good at a data-driven journey. You have to get good at leveraging that data just to stay competitive. If you're not already doing that, if you're not already focused in that, it's not too late, but probably obvious to everyone on this call that it's very easy to slip behind competitively if we're not doing so. We each have businesses that have core competencies that make us different from our competitors. But one thing that is universal is data will drive some of the best efficiencies, some of the best innovation. Data will drive some of the right kind of objectivity that's hard to come by in any other way, especially with large and ever-growing data sets that are out there. So probably any way you look at it, if you're not already looking at how to leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning, and anything related, the answer is really now. Now is the time to begin doing that. Now I know we're at different stages in that journey. Some of us are probably looking at it and saying, yeah, I'm long since past that. We've got a really strong data science team that's leveraging this. Awesome. How do you keep pace with that? How do you keep ahead? How do you keep that competitive advantage? But many of us too are looking at that and saying, okay, how do I start leveraging JD Edwards data in a way we've never done before? And it's never been more accessible than it is today. Okay, so some common business applications. Some of these will be obvious. Some of them may be somewhat new, or areas maybe where you've never thought about this for your organization. But there are a number of ways, and this is just a handful, but a number of ways where adding that kind of power, that kind of capability makes a huge difference. Complex or repetitive tasks. If you have tasks that are complex, time-consuming, we require any kind of significant human effort to complete, then AI can potentially automate, streamline those processes, save you time, resources. Large amounts of data, we touched on this before, but large amounts of data where you have data that is substantial in volume, that needs to be analyzed, processed, interpreted. AI techniques and machine learning in particular can really uncover patterns and insights and be able to not just optimize, but predict from that data in a way that can add almost immediate value. Decision-making and predictions. When your business decisions, when your predictions rely on historical or real-time data, those AI algorithms can assist in making accurate predictions or recommendations based on those patterns and trends that are in that data. Personalized customer experience, also touched on this. If you aim to provide personalized experiences, recommendations based on customer profiles that are really targeted, that really understand specific preferences, targeted around specific behavior or targeted around historical data. AI can help analyze, understand that customer data in ways that are very difficult to do otherwise. Resource optimization. AI can be a really useful way to optimize resources, resources that now make it possible to spend more time in good decision making and good analysis of data rather than the mechanics of pulling together data and trying to make sense of it. AI models also can analyze that data, detect those patterns, and make really intelligent recommendations that help optimize resource allocations that with older, more manual approaches just becomes more and more difficult to keep up. Natural language optimization, a lot of discussion for quite some time now around things like Chat GPT, large language models. So natural language processing really gives you the way to process, understand, and generate in a human language form, where the techniques that are associated with that can be employed to figure out how to automate tasks like chatbots for interaction, sentiment analysis, language translation, text summarization, and the list goes on and on. So that natural language processing goes beyond the more structured data that we typically think about and extends to unstructured data and the neural network and real powerful AI technology that can help do all of that. Risk assessment and fraud detection, artificial intelligence can be a really valuable way for identifying anomalies, patterns, potential risks in those large data sets, helping in fraud detection or cybersecurity, credit scoring, risk assessment processes to automate that to make it a much stronger part of your organization. And I would say even beyond fraud, sometimes just anomaly detection about unusual things, whether you see credits and trying to understand credits from a customer standpoint. Anomalies can really stand out as either predicting problems or predicting shortfalls in process. Lots of ways that anomaly detection can add that value. And of course, when it comes to decision making and making those predictions, that's going to permeate across just about any function that we think about across the organization. The more powerful, the more responsive, the quicker that we can get to that decision making, the bigger our competitive advantage grows. Some common ways of applying this across our businesses, and even more specifically, if we think about what does that look like in a JD Edwards environment? Well, you get some off-the-shelf capability already with some products that are out there. So some of this may be already in place in your organization, but when you think about demand forecasting, inventory management, to go beyond the descriptive and even diagnostic approach to analytics that's very, very strong historically and very mature historically, to move further up that maturity scale when you're looking at more predictive and even prescriptive ways of managing a business through things like demand, supply, inventory, predictive maintenance. Many JD Edwards customers are in the manufacturing space, and so being able to monitor equipment and machine data, applying machine learning models can predict when that maintenance is going to be required to optimize that maintenance, to prevent unexpected breakdowns and downtime, to really optimize your OEE. This can lead to cost savings as well as equipment lifespan. Supplier performance. Supplier performance is often a key with the JD Edwards world, to be able to take that supplier data, tracking everything that's coming through our transactional systems, JD Edwards and otherwise, and to monitor the quality, monitor pricing fluctuations, be able to predict and optimize in ways that a descriptive reporting capability can't match. Customer segmentation and personalization, taking that JD Edwards customer data, augmenting it with other data that's out there, and using more robust capability around not just segmenting from a descriptive standpoint, but very granular in monitoring and trying to predict and optimize based on customer behavior, preferences, purchase history. This enables a very targeted campaign to customer success, to marketing, to personalized recommendations, to overall customer experience. We already talked a little bit about financial fraud detection, but right from the financial transactions, there's enough data in our transactional history to be able to spot potential fraud, to be able to spot and minimize financial risks from the data that exists out of the box with the JD Edwards environment. Optimizing procurement and supply chain, another key area with many JD Edwards customers. Analyzing that supply chain to optimize routes, to reduce transportation costs, enhance overall efficiency in our procurement and distribution processes. From an employee standpoint, our team members and really assessing performance based on key metrics and providing everything from predictive analysis to anomaly detection to really help our people departments identify areas for improvement, to make better informed decisions on everything from promotion, training, talent management, but well beyond that, to increase engagement in a way that becomes a real powerful way to optimize that. Invoice processing and automation, quality control, defect detection, the list goes on and on with the different ways that we can add machine learning to our existing JD Edwards environments to provide some really advanced analytics that are getting mature to the point that they add really powerful value to our organizations. Adding that to multiple data sources, so taking that JD Edwards data and identifying where the additional data, whether that's point of sale data that may or may not be part of your JD Edwards environment, to take external data. For some, it's data like weather or commodity prices, market indexes, to put that into an environment that you can leverage machine learning and data science. Okay, so the key, I think, to really being successful down this path is to have a really good understanding of what that data-driven journey looks like and setting that foundation. And it does really start with what I've called here a data-driven strategy. So that data-driven strategy is really a mentality around the importance of data in your organization. It's also an integrated strategy where you might be at the beginning of that journey, but or much further on and more advanced, but integrating that into your business strategy, and making sure that that data-driven approach supports that at every step. That's where you really will see the most value down the road. Rather than just dabbling in it, you really set the stage for where data-driven journey is not just the more advanced AI and ML, it's also just a core mentality to start with, and making sure that that is well established as part of that journey. But of course, data is the most important part, and making sure that data is high performing, that data is governed, that it is a data model that really lends itself to leveraging the different tools that are out there, that really is key. It's where we spend most of our time focusing, making sure that that data model is as robust and high performing as possible, so that we can figure out what is ready for prime time in terms of the tools that and approaches, data science models that continue to emerge, to make sure that that data is in the right kind of structure and in a way that's as accessible and easy to use as possible. Another really key part to this foundation is what I've termed here change management. It does mean having a clear vision and purpose to what your data vision strategy really looks like. It means having strong leadership support across your organization and a real unwavering commitment, even active involvement as part of supporting that. Really important that this happens as a core and integral part of the culture in an organization in order to be a real data-driven focus within an organization. Effective communication at every step. The AI developments can be overwhelming and unsettling for many people. So developing that comprehensive communication plan to continue to share the details, focus on the benefits and the timeline, and try to alleviate some of those fears, and try to anticipate and expect the impact on individuals as well as the organization. Really key. Key to removing any resistance and really making it clear through communication just how important and valuable it is, will lead to a lot more adoption and embracing that data-driven journey. Stakeholder engagement, really, really important at every step, as are the champions that really bring that stability and focus and the leading the charge, if you will, of what's possible through incremental and big wins, and help celebrate those wins to be able to continue to build on that visible commitment and the expectations across the company for what a data-driven approach can mean for your organization. And then, of course, technology. So we're talking about AI and ML and making sure that we understand what's real and what's experimental or hype. And that gets fuzzy and it changes constantly, not even on a daily basis, throughout the day sometimes. So that means understanding the technology, educating yourself about the different technologies you're considering, understanding the underlying principles and potential applications, assessing the problem solution fit for your organization. Not every out-of-the-box solution is going to fit, even if it does say that it's industry specific for you. It's really about evaluating that technology to make sure that it's addressing the real problems or the real pain points that you're trying to solve for, as well as unlocking the unexpected. And you can do both at the same time. Also, considering the adoption rate of those technologies. While there's nothing wrong with being an early adopter, you'll get a much better understanding of the successes when you see that adoption rate. And it's not by accident that those adoption rates happen. Some of it can be initially hype driven, but where you start seeing an application or technology gain traction, that adoption rate is meaningful. And of course, assessing some more independent expert opinions outside, and there's plenty there. There's plenty of options, both in the JD Edwards space and outside, to seek that input from experts, thoughtful leaders in the field. We're not flying blind anymore. There's plenty of practical implications and case studies where there has been real value. We see that across some of our customers where they're proving out that machine learning, data science, it can bring real value to the organization. And finally, continuing to stay aware that you want to stay separate from the trends or fads that are out there. Also avoiding, a fear of missing out. I think it's easy to gravitate toward, well, I better make sure I've got AI on my roadmap, so let's make sure there's something on there that points to that. That might be nice. It might buy you a little time because others are looking at that and say, oh, you're headed down the path. But that's not the same as really evaluating what's going to add real value, making sure that product's solution fit is going to add that value. Okay, and then finally, all of that leads to a competitive advantage, but one that continues to build on your competitive advantage in a few different ways. It adds through efficiency, being faster to market, being better at decision making, able to respond and adapt quicker. It adds to your competitive advantage through increasing quality, better understanding of what really matters, better understanding how to focus on the right things more often. It adds through innovation. Automation provides more focus on disruption through innovation and optimizing and predicting rather than going through our typical innovation cycles that it can just be more time consuming. And finally, customer responsiveness. So adding a competitive advantage in the eyes of the customers is ultimately a great place to be through efficiencies, through a better understanding and a better ability to find success for your customer, to find the customer behavior and preferences through a very focused, targeted results. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we move forward, and what does that look like? Well, I think most important is to really stay focused on separating out what's real versus experimental. Certainly, that's one of the most important focuses for us at Preferred Strategies. Really trying to understand what's ready for prime time, what's going to add value, even if it's something that may work in some companies. Does that work for our customers? Does that work within the data model and to be able to bring real value to customers, or is that not quite there? Is it more experimental and therefore not quite ready and not going to unlock that real value yet? It changes constantly, so plenty of sources of good information out there from the big vendors like Microsoft, Databricks, many others. Also good independent sources that are also valuable to keep you at the forefront, to understand what's real and what's going to provide that value for your organization. So technology, as I mentioned before, it's never been more accessible. In many ways, you may already have something embedded across your organization now. Remote robotic process automation has been around for a while. It's been integrated into many products. Some of those products you may use for shortening your close cycle right now, or other workflow processes. Natural language processing. If you're a Power BI user, you already can leverage some of that, because there's some really good power just in the basic Q&A functionality, and being able to build that out and really leverage that. But well beyond that, you see a lot of innovation in that space to be able to unlock the natural language processing value in ways that weren't possible before. Number of SaaS machine learning and data science types of offerings out there. So feeding your data through that SaaS model, being able to see the results from that is something that is accessible as well, and continuing to mature as a space. Of course, having an internal data science team, if you're in a position to be able to do so, can really give you a lot of value in a way that's very specific to your organization, with skill sets that are easier to find today, because there's so much of focus around data. Data science programs continue to improve constantly. And of course, analytics platforms, whether that's through something like Power BI or similar platforms, or other more technical platforms that are analyzing, all of that is technology that's readily accessible today, and something that you can leverage today. And so I think the key message, though, is having that foundation is really paramount. If you try to jump into natural language processing as a kind of a curious experiment, that's not the same as building a data model that will support it, building a strategy, adjusting for the culture and change management around your culture to make it successful. So that foundation still becomes essential to success in the long run, and it will build a competency across your organization that is far beyond what's possible if this is a niche, small focus for an organization instead of a real data-driven mentality and strategy across your organization. Okay, so finally, just a quick update here on the Quick Launch AI engine. We've been building this out for the last several months. I will say, you see the safe harbor statement there, that this is intended to outline where we are headed directionally. We'll have more information in the coming weeks, and I'll mention that in a minute. But the way we are approaching leveraging this in the way that we think will bring the most value to our customers, the most value to JD Edwards customers, is taking that existing data model, that engine that really provides a very quick time to value, just for the basic analytics capability, and building an AI extension of that makes it as easy as possible to literally drag and drop those fields into the engine, to be able to take the data you want, to push that into this AI engine. And then behind the scenes, what's actually happening is we're taking a randomized grid approach, which does try to isolate the best fit in terms of the data science models that are out there. So it will adjust based on the best fit in terms of whether or not a binary classification would best fit, a decision tree, a correlation matrix, multivariate regression, and to then interpret those results in a way that doesn't look like what you typically look for. As a data scientist, you might look at an output from a multivariate regression and say, yep, I know the answer to that, and I can see from the R-squared and the p-values what to focus on next. Well, that's too many steps. That's too much jargon, too much terminology. What we're trying to do is take that, make it as easy as possible to drag and drop that data, be able to feed that through that AI engine. And what you get is an optimization and where appropriate, a prediction on the data that you have provided. Now, part of that's going to highlight the key influencers and say, okay, these are important, these aren't. So you may want to run that back through the model with a fewer number of variables. And that will then reiterate through the AI engine, do the same again, and give you an even stronger likelihood of the prediction or optimization. So we are developing this right now. We are beginning to test with sample data sets and expect to announce what that release schedule looks like at the upcoming JD Edwards In Focus event next month. I know there are several customers on this call, so please feel free to reach out if you'd like to spend more time, learn more about the direction we're headed, begin to understand how that can provide more value to you in the next coming weeks and months. We'd love to have those discussions now, even though we're still in that development cycle. Or if you're not a customer, maybe you're interested in a more detailed discussion on the different machine learning and AI options that you might be able to take advantage of in your JD Edwards environment, and we'd love to have that discussion with you as well. So certainly, as I mentioned, data is my passion, and would love to go down any one of those paths to discuss further. So with that, I've got contact information on here. Please feel free to reach out to me or anybody at Preferred, and we'd love to help support in any way we can with your data-driven journey and what's next as you start looking at ways to unlock your JD Edwards data with the latest in data science and machine learning and everything that is artificial intelligence. All right, with that, David, I'll pass it back to you. I'm not sure if we've got any questions to pose, but I think we do have a little bit of time left.
Okay. Yes, awesome job, Todd. Thank you for that insight. We did have a couple questions come in. I'm not sure if you can speak to this or not, but one of the questions was, will Microsoft Fabric products be a part of Quick Launch AI?
Yep, that's a great question. I think sometimes with the continuing innovation that we see from Power BI, from Microsoft in general, we made a strategic decision to integrate with Power BI many years ago, and that was because we didn't want to continue to compete in terms of visualization. We wanted to instead complement through a powerful data model all of the AI and machine learning capability that was available. So Power BI already has some of that, and in some cases it overlaps a little bit with where we're headed, but we will always try to leverage what is possible straight out of Power BI, and that will also be true as Microsoft continues down their roadmap with Fabric and everything that gets added to Fabric. So when we talk about our AI engine, we are leveraging the data models that are out there. And so as that continues to grow, Microsoft Fabric, no doubt, will continue to add to that capability. We want to make it as easy as possible to take that model and apply it to any one of the technologies that Fabric or throughout the rest of the Microsoft stack that they provide. So we will absolutely remain dedicated to supporting Fabric and all of the functionality that's available in Fabric.
Okay, great. Next question. What do you do when you don't have much internal support for AI or machine learning?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, the further along we get in the prominence of artificial intelligence, the easier it becomes, because you see companies around you, excuse me, you see companies around you doing the same. You see them leveraging data, you see the importance of data. So that should get easier and easier over time. But where you don't have that support, either because it feels like a budget constraint or just not core to the business direction and strategy, what I would suggest is starting with the small wins to really prove out the possibility around artificial intelligence. And you can do so with little or no budget. And I'm happy to talk offline on how that can work. But one of the best approaches that I've seen is a book by David Pottruck. He was the CEO at Charles Schwab that took them through a major transformation from brick and mortar to online brokerage. And his book's called Stacking the Deck. And Stacking the Deck is a reference to finding that small, very valuable, quick win. It can be small, but still have a big impact, and stacking the deck in a way that it makes it really obvious that can lead to much bigger and better things. So the short answer is that you can still do that by really championing a small win that doesn't cost you much, maybe none at all, except a little bit of time, to take a subset of data, a very small problem that you're trying to solve for, and applying just a little bit of technology. So we did that at Cliff Bar. I've seen that at other organizations. It can be a really powerful way to get the attention of the right kind of champions across an organization. And I'm happy to have a deeper discussion on that, because I do think there are some ways to really find the low-hanging fruit to be able to build that kind of support in an organization where it currently doesn't exist.
Excellent. Thank you for that response. I think we have time for one more question, and we'll end with this one. So where do you think the big value will be with tools like ChatGPT?
Yeah, so we talked mostly about structured data, right? So applying data science models, machine learning for anomaly detection can be structured or unstructured, but in a JD Edwards environment, I would say it almost always starts with more structured data, but that doesn't mean there's not value out there in unstructured data as well. I think natural language processing helps bridge that gap, but a lot of confusion in so many different efforts out there, and even the terms sometimes get confusing, whether it's Llama or BART or DALL-E, or it's just so many different approaches, ChatGPT. But I think that unstructured data is a wealth of value that doesn't just provide a convenience. Natural language processing can certainly make it more convenient and easier through natural language to be accessible for a lot of users. But as we see large language models mature, they will really make a big difference when that data can be trained in a way that it becomes more company specific. You know, the easy wins there around knowledge accessibility, but there's a plethora of startups out there that are rapidly maturing that space with very industry specific large language models that are the types of things that that can leverage a JD Edwards data set, both structured and unstructured data, to be able to add a lot of value. So, you know, some of the easy value adds, things like chatbot, natural language processing, I think will grow quickly over time. And I think there's, you know, the natural tendency is to fear for what that means for my job, right? Is that going to replace what I do? Well, so long as you have a data-driven approach and continue to unlock new value as you ride that wave of technology, that'll never be an issue anytime soon anyway, because what we will then be able to do is provide more and more value using those technologies, whether it's large language models and unstructured data or otherwise. So I think there's a huge wave that we're starting to see that will continue to grow as that really matures in our respective industries and specific areas of focus as separate organizations.
Yeah, well put, Todd. I think it's an exciting time for business as these technologies that were in sort of the hype phase move to being more operational in the real world. So yeah, well, with that, thank you everybody for coming to today's session. And just to close, we do have a few events coming up later this month. If you're brand new to Power BI, we have a couple workshops, one focused around financial reporting and one focused around sales reporting from JD Edwards. So go to our events page on our website to check that out. And then if you're experienced with Power BI and you've been trying to connect JD Edwards, we're going to show you how you can connect Power BI to JD Edwards on the 24th of August. So if you're interested in that one, please join us for that as well. So thank you, Todd, again for this session, and thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, David.